Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video we're going to learn how we can set up a gitignore file that allows us to specify files that should not be tracked by Git. So as I mentioned in the last video, there's some files that we don't want Git to track. For example, if I do git status right now, because I'm still inside my git practice folder directory, there's this .dsstore file. This is an operating system file that is used by Mac OS to kind of track metadata inside of this directory, and I don't want that in my repository. So I could just continue to not add it there, but the likelihood of me accidentally adding it by doing a git add dot is pretty good. So instead, we need to set up a gitignore file that allows us to specify that we don't want that. This is also super useful for other files that we don't want included inside of our Git, such as our config, because that has sensitive data like passwords in it. We don't want the dsstore. We also don't want our node modules directory because this thing can get absolutely massive and we don't need it since it's already included in our package.json. So basically we're just going to create a file called .gitignore. So touch.gitignore. And this name is important. It has to be named this because Git will look for this. So if I do an atom.gitignore, it'll open it up and we can add things to it. So let's add .ds_store. Save and do a git status again. Now dsstore is not showing up. Our gitignore is showing up, and you do want to track your gitignore, but dsstore is no longer showing up. So git add all, git commit with a message of add gitignore. Now I can see git status, and we are caught up, but dsstore was never added to our repository because we didn't want to include it. So let's try this again. Let's practice again. So let's make a secret file. Touch secret, -ch, secret file dot, we'll make it a JSON file. Let's open this JSON file up, and I don't know, let's make it a password is my password. We're super secure here. Username is user. So now we have this JSON file that has our secret, super secret credentials inside of it. Well, inside of Git, we don't want to track that super secret file. So right now, if I do git status, that file will show up. So Git is basically saying, hey, do you want to track this? Make sure you add it if you do, because Git assumes that we want to track everything, unless we tell it specifically that we don't. So inside of gitignore, we just add secret file.json, save, go back, and if I run git status again, it doesn't show up. We still get that gitignore was modified, but secret file no longer shows up. So I can do git add all, git commit, add secret file to gitignore, and git status. There we go. Working tree is clean, nothing to commit. And that is the basics of the gitignore file. So what's cool about this is that not only can we do files, we can do whole directories. So let's make directory. We'll just do node modules because this is what it will oftentimes be used for. This is how you'll use gitignore almost all the time. And then inside of node modules, let's make express.js. So let's go ahead and atom, atom, node modules, express, which will open an atom. Let's just add alert. This is totally express, yo. Let's look at git status. You can see that the entire node modules directory wants to be added. That will add both this directory and everything inside of it. Well, we don't want that. So instead, we're going to add node modules / to our gitignore. And what this will do is this will add the entire directory and everything inside of it, including subdirectories, including files, including hidden files, everything inside that directory, to our gitignore. So when we do git status, nothing shows up except for that change to the gitignore. Git add, and we'll just add it manually this time. Git commit, add node modules to gitignore. Notice I'm still using the imperative tense, telling people, hey, add this. And I made a typo. Git status. Nothing's there, even though all we added was the gitignore file. Node modules is not being tracked. So you could go through here and just build up your gitignore file custom from the go. That's perfectly fine, especially for smaller projects. For larger projects, there are people who have gone out and made kind of standardized gitignore files. They're kind of overkill for what we're doing. So here is one for example. You'll notice that this has a lot of stuff on here. We have no idea what this is. We've never used the vast majority of this, so this is overkill for what we're doing. But if you wanted to include it, it wouldn't hurt anything. And it just kind of makes your life a little bit easier, so that way you can just copy paste all this mess instead of having to do it on your own. You'll notice here, node modules is included. But you will, generally speaking, always have to customize it to add any type of credentials or any type of hidden information or secret information that you don't want included. It's also important to note there are more advanced selectors inside of gitignore instead of just the file names and directories. That's kind of outside the scope of this course, but here is a good place to get started. Atlassian has a wonderful gitignore patterns things, and it has just kind of a list of all the different ways that you can put in commands to update your gitignore and select exactly the files that you want. That's kind of a more advanced thing to do, but it can be helpful if you're interested in that. In this video, we learned how to create a .gitignore file in order to tell Git not to track specific files. We also learned how to add files and directories to that list to make sure that they are not tracked by Git. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Thanks.